Hey legends, welcome to yet another week of the Virtus Performance Podcast. Before I get stuck into today's guest, I would like to thank all you guys for listening. Please keep sharing, liking, subscribing, all that fun stuff, so more people can listen to me talk rubbish and drink gin and stuff like that. My guest today is Dan McQuinn. Dan is a lawyer by trade. He's an entrepreneur. He's a world traveller. He's someone who has uprooted his life a bunch of times and come out from each move and change with new life experiences and new learnings. And he's a very insightful, legendary human who is also 12 out of 10 in the looks department. So yeah, just if you don't like listening to him, just look at the pictures and stuff, I guess. Here he is. My personal and business goal is to be just a little bit better every day. I believe everyone, especially normal people, have a story to tell. The Virtus podcast exists to help us all find small ways of consistent improvement by discussing the journey and experiences of each of our guests. Dan McQuinn, mate.
Hello.
Welcome to the podcast.
Thank you. Great to be here.
It's good to have you on. You've been a highly sought after guest, and we've managed to match up our schedules and get you
locked it in.
Get you in. First question for you: what gets you out of bed in the morning?
Ooh. I can start with being cheesy and say my alarm.
Everyone gives that food or coffee. So in a more philosophical sense.
No, in a philosophical sense. Very good question, Lockie. Hit me, mate, hard straight up.
Got to start hard, and then it just gets easier from here.
What gets me out of bed in the morning? I think.
Let me rephrase it. Why do you do what you do?
Why do I do what I do? I think I want to answer one way, and I'm going to answer the other way. So the real reason I do what I do at the moment is because I need to.
Yep.
And there are bills to pay.
Yep.
But the reason I do the things that I love is very different, and the things that I love are the things that are important to me. The reason I do the things that I love is obviously because I love them, but also because they fit with my values and they're things that I feel passionate about. So the reason I get out of bed in the morning when I want to get out of bed in the morning, and I think that's probably where the question's leading.
Yep.
When I want to get out of bed in the morning, I'm doing something, or I'm going to be doing something that I really want to do because it's something that fits with my values, and in particular I think my values of I'm gonna answer your question in a very long-winded way.
Mate, go nuts.
All right.
That's the whole point of the podcast.
I was taught from a very young age, and I've realised this only recently, that my mum always said, whenever you borrow something, you return it better than you got it.
Ooh.
And for that reason, I think it's always stuck with me that I've always wanted to return something better than I've got it, but I've also wanted to take something and make it better than when I took it. So when I'm doing something that I'm really passionate about, I want it to be better than when I got it. And I guess that's sort of where passion comes from for me, and what gets me out of bed is to make something
things better.
Yeah.
I like that. Fuck, that's good. That's really good. What are your other values? You seem like the kind of person that would have sat down and thought about it and probably written down your values. And,
yeah.
And what are your values?
So I think my key value, and this is the reason that I'm a lawyer, is justice. I have a really, really strong sense of justice, and I think probably most of my values stem from that. So I think if you ask anyone close to me, my strongest sort of cause is the environment, and that comes down to environmental justice. And again, it comes down to leaving something better than you found it, and that's the world that we come from, and the world that we live in, and the world that we're born into, and the world that we'll die in. So yeah, probably justice is my key value, and then environment is probably the one that sticks out from there.
Awesome.
I don't know, what are my other values?
Passion, justice, environment. It's a good place to start.
Yeah, I think it is a good place to start. We'll stick with them for now.
Talk to me about, and this is going to be a very long-winded answer to a very simple question, but talk to me about what was it like growing up, and were you always going to be a lawyer?
All right, what was it like growing up? I grew up in I was very lucky to be born into the family I was. There were never any issues. Mum and Dad love each other very much. They're a credit to one another, and they're very inspiring in the way that, you know, even in their 60s, sorry Mum to tell everyone your real age, in their 60s, you know, they still cuddle and they still love each other, and
awesome.
It's really great. It was a good childhood. You know, it had its interesting moments. I impaled myself on a star picket when I was 16 and almost died.
Wow.
We can cover that later.
We will come back to that story for everyone that's listening.
I think if we can, I think there's 5 near-death experiences, but overall I was very lucky. Well, even to survive there.
Where'd you grow up?
Mount Eliza.
Awesome. Yeah, so we're Peninsula. Sick.
And was I always going to be a lawyer? I
Yeah.
think when I was 10, I first wanted to be a lawyer.
Really? That's pretty cool that something you said to yourself when you were 10 ended up coming true or being a thing.
Yeah.
What was that journey from? Talk me through the steps from being 10 and going, you know what, I think I want to be a lawyer and I want to know why.
Yeah.
To getting to actually be a lawyer.
I don't think it was ever even a conscious thing. This is what I really believe. If you genuinely want something, you can make it happen.
100%.
And I think being an innocent 10-year-old and genuinely wanting something just was almost so instilled into my subconscious that it just made it happen. There's a quote when I'm going to paraphrase it, but it's Paolo Coelho, The Alchemist.
Yeah, the guy who wrote The
favourite
Alchemist.
authors we were talking about before.
I always struggle to pronounce his name, so I just say, just call him PC.
Yeah, PC. So PC.
Shout out.
Our mate, yep. If you're listening.
That's a shout out, Bell.
But paraphrasing, one of his quotes is, when you really, truly desire something, the universe will conspire with you to make it happen.
Ooh, yeah.
And I just, that's not the quote, but I love that quote. And in his words, it's even better. And I think the innocence of a 10-year-old is you don't let limiting beliefs, you don't believe limiting beliefs, and you have a reason to you don't even have a reason to listen to them, let alone sort of entertain them. And I think from 10 until even now, I just sort of had in my head, I want to be a lawyer, so I'm going to be a lawyer.
That's cool.
Yeah.
That's awesome. It seems like that belief and that, I guess, drive to make that dream a reality has come a lot from your parents.
Definitely. Yeah. So Dad's always been a professional. I've always known Dad as a really hard-working man. Mum worked in finance as well. She was always an incredibly hard-working woman.
Yeah.
But I think, where Mum and I had a really strong sort of mother-son bond, and I think mums always have a good bond with their sons. Dad and I always had a bit of a really great relationship, and it was always filled with love, but I also sort of had that admiration for what Dad did.
Yeah.
Not that I didn't for Mum, but I think it was sort of, I didn't see Dad as much, but I always admired what he did.
That's cool.
When I didn't see him. Yeah.
Awesome. What are the main traits that I think that you have, I guess, downloaded from your parents or learned from your parents?
I actually think I've probably inherited more from Mum, for whatever reason. I think Mum's a very cheeky woman. In a good way, Mum, if you're listening. She's a lot of fun. She's very caring, really empathetic, sometimes to a fault, and I think I've inherited that as well.
Good.
And just a lot of fun. She's a bit of a joker and doesn't take anything too seriously. And then from Dad, I think I've inherited professionalism and sort of the typical corporate success sort of elements of being a straight shooter and being good on the phone, which I'm really grateful for, because I think a lot of our generation is missing that. Always admired Dad. I remember sitting in the car when I was probably 10, probably around when I thought I wanted to be a lawyer, and he was on the loudspeaker on this old mobile phone, and I just remember him talking and thinking, that's really cool that he's just making things happen and he's driving his car, and so I think cool. Probably professionally from Dad and personally from Mum.
I like it.
Yeah.
It's really cool. Talk me through the process. Were you good at school? Were you a good student? So
I was a smart ass, but I was smart.
Not surprised. But so becoming a lawyer was more about just knowing that's what you wanted to do, and did you have to work harder at school because you knew you had to hit certain levels? Or
I don't think I was mature enough to work harder at school. I didn't quite get the marks for law, but I went and did a year of commerce to get into law.
Yeah.
And I was so dogged in wanting to do law, I actually ditched the commerce.
Yeah.
Just did straight law, which in hindsight I probably could have kept the extra degree, but it is what it is.
Yeah.
But yeah, I always enjoyed school. I wasn't particularly popular. I was quite overweight until I was about 15 or 16.
Mate, you're a picture of health and fitness now.
Thank you.
12 out of 10. I'll make sure I put a photo of him on the as I plug it.
I'll do a quick shred before you take it. We're going to post it for a few weeks.
Mate, you're looking good.
No, I think I was more studious, and I had friends. I certainly had friends, but I wasn't by any stretch a popular kid, and that helped probably me focus on studies. That being said, I was a bit of a smart ass and didn't always do as I should have in terms of studies and everything. So I think I'm lucky that I've got a pretty good head on my shoulders and was able to get good enough marks to get into at least the commerce and then transfer to law. But it wasn't really... I think, again, it was more the subconscious that was pushing me through in terms of, I had that in my head that I'm going to be a lawyer. So
it's pretty cool.
Made the right decisions, and then the conscious might not have always helped.
Where did you study?
Monash.
Monash. What was uni like being a law student? Because I think as a exercise science student and someone that's, I guess I don't love school. I don't love like the education side of what I do. Like I love learning, but I don't love the sit down, do assignments kind of thing. Yeah. Law seems to me something that would be so far out of my comfort zone that I couldn't deal with it. What was it like? Was it something that you just got done? Yeah, boring. Yeah.
Awful.
Just ticking boxes.
Yeah, it was.
How long's a law degree?
Well, I did it in 4.5 years.
Yeah.
Yeah. It was there were some subjects that I really enjoyed, but overall it was. I don't think the education model is right the way it's doing at the moment. It's sitting in lectures and taking notes and then being examined for 3 hours to test your knowledge.
I understand the people that, and like a lot of the most successful people in the world haven't been to uni, don't go to college or whatever in the US.
I'll get so disenchanted that I drop out.
Well, that's it. You understand why. Because it's sitting in lecture theatres just trying to absorb information where most of us aren't built that way.
Yeah.
What would you do to change it?
The education system?
Because this is something that tends to come up fairly regularly on the podcast with people not really enjoying schooling and not necessarily enjoying what they do at school, but then getting out into the industry that they've been studying and loving it. Yeah. So what would you change about the school system?
I think I'd just make it more practical. I think exams are terribly outdated as a standardised test. I think I'm a lawyer again now after a bit of time off, and I've never been put in a position where I have 3 hours to write my answer to a legal question. It's a collaborative, it's got to be about collaboration and just challenging one another. And I think practical experience trumps book smarts every day of the week.
Yeah, and I think that's not industry specific either.
I think that's
everywhere. Like it's across everything. And as soon as we start to realise that maybe the way we used to educate in the 50s and 40s and 30s, when I guess the need for the industrial side of the education system, like we don't need that anymore. Like everyone's it's so fluid in terms of what jobs and things we can do that let's start teaching people to think on their feet and think critically and be a little bit more proactive about what they're doing rather than fucking sitting there listening. I couldn't think of anything worse.
Yeah, and put them into the situations that they'll be in. Yeah. And that, I was so ill-equipped to have met with clients and do that sort of thing, but for some volunteering I did at uni, and I learnt more of that volunteering than I did in probably most
Everyone says that. Everyone says they learn more from internships and things like that. Well, yeah, of course you do, because you're learning on the job. You're not learning
the actual
by
things that you'll be doing. Yeah.
But I think there's, it goes both ways, right? Because there's a part of the theory that you would have learned at uni that would have been important for you learning on the job.
Hugely, yeah.
Yeah, so you've got to kind of get a bit of both worlds.
I think also, particularly with a law degree, I'm really grateful for that because it's taught me, basically the job of a lawyer is to always think about the other side of an argument.
Yeah.
So if someone says the sky is blue, you try and think of why it's not. And you just even if it's your argument, you've got to think what would they say on the other side. So it makes you challenge everything. And I think I don't know that I'm the typical law student in that respect because I kind of extrapolated it into other areas of life.
Yeah.
But, I'm glad that I did a law degree for that, but I think it could have been taught a little bit differently. Yeah.
Talk me through all the things you've done since finishing law, because you've done a bit, right?
Yeah, I've done a bit. Yeah, I haven't followed the standard course of this.
And I'm coming at this from not actually knowing a lot of these answers.
All right.
So I've had a few chats with people that know you.
Yes.
And obviously I've talked to you about bits and pieces, but I haven't actually this is new to me as well. So I'm going to ask questions not knowing the story, which is kind of cool.
It has been, if there's a straight line between A and B, I think I hit every other letter in the alphabet before I hit B.
Good.
I hit B and then I bounced back to Z and then I sort of started again.
Take me through that process.
All right, so I qualified law, did well, I was quite lucky. So the route for a lawyer is once you qualify, or the year before you qualify, you apply for clerkships, and that's kind of your foot in the door at a big firm.
Yeah.
Everyone says you have to go to the big firm, so you do that. I didn't get any interviews except for the one I spent the least time applying for, and it was the most beautifully succinct cover letter. It was dot points, like everyone was saying you're an idiot, why would you put bullet points in the resume and all this stuff. Got the interview, got the job. So I went straight out of uni into a graduate year at a firm in the city, and it was really good. It was valuable. The actual work itself was interesting, but the lifestyle was just horrendous. I was working until, depending on I went through 4 different practice areas, but some of the worst ones were back in the days when there wasn't 24-hour trains. I was missing the train home.
Oh no!
Because I was working past 1 o'clock.
Yeah.
And there was just no real.
What did you do? Nap under your desk?
No, I got a cab charge from the firm.
Oh no!
Yeah, so about $120 cab.
Lovely.
Paid for by them, so that's good. But it reached a point where I was actually washing dishes in my kitchen and I burst into tears.
Yeah.
And I was just exhausted and unhappy, and at that moment I just went, there is so much more to life than living this sort of life. So I quit, and I had nothing.
How long did it take for you to get to the point where you went, I'm a new grad, to this sucks, to I'm done? So
from the start to the finish was just under 2 years.
Yeah.
For the honeymoon period was probably 6 months. After that, it started feeling stale but necessary.
Yeah.
And then it was at the point where I was, just completely broke down, that I realised that nothing can be worth that.
I like that.
Yeah.
Do you think it took too long? Do you think it didn't take long enough?
No, I think
it was just the right time.
I think it worked out well enough for me because I had enough on my resume that if I ever wanted to go back to it, which I eventually did, it was okay. I think if I had have left it any longer, I would have probably spiraled down pretty quickly.
Was it hard making that decision, or was it an easy decision because you were self-aware enough to go, I'm done? I
felt like a completely different person after that night. I felt like it just hit me, and I was like, there's no option. It's either you quit or you're depressed and you're stuck in this forever and you don't want to do that, so quit. Yeah.
Good. So you quit not having anything lined up?
Yeah.
Good.
And then I got a job. Actually, no, I stayed in the law for a little while.
Yep.
And then that was pre-breakdown. I felt like she got another job for 3 months and then broke down and just completely quit it. And just had nothing to go to. So what did I do from there? I worked in some hospitality, went travelling.
Awesome.
Lived in New York for just under 3 months.
Did you travel because you didn't know what you wanted to do?
I think I travelled because it was almost a quarter-life crisis. It was like, if life is that bad, then make it good, and I just took it to the extreme.
Oh, good. Yeah.
I inherited some money from my grandparents because they passed away, and I think that probably contributed a little bit to where I was at.
Yeah.
And I just thought they gave me this money because they want me to be happy, and so I applied it to something that I thought would make me happy, and I went overseas and just lived, didn't need an income, just sort of set myself up in a brownstone in Brooklyn and wandered around and got to know some people and just had a good time.
That's cool.
Yeah.
What did that period of your life teach you about the world and about yourself?
About the world, I think it's that you can... I found, I didn't know anyone.
Yeah.
And I'd walk around and I'd smile and I'd just start talking to people. It took a while, but eventually it was you're not going to meet someone unless you talk to them.
Yeah.
And everyone has their own shit going on, but overall I think everyone's good. and you can have a chat to someone and generally they'll happily chat to you back. And I think that was kind of like this really good turning point because I got over a lot of insecurities.
Yeah.
And I would highly recommend living by yourself for a while for anyone that's sort of under...
Especially overseas.
Especially
places completely foreign.
Yeah. I found myself driving a van for this guy that owned a cafe. I was driving his coffee cart around because he'd been there for more than 2 years, so he couldn't have an Australian licence that he could drive in New York.
Yeah.
And I was driving this van through Manhattan, like one of the busiest cities in the world, and almost crashed about 5 times, but it was like having a good chat with him, and it was just an amazing experience. And so I think just overall, it's just like getting out of your comfort zone and probably realising that generally people are good and they're happy to help you if you need help, and they're happy to chat to you if you want to have a chat. And if they're not, then they've got their own shit. Like, it's not a personal...
Yeah, I agree.
Yeah.
It's usually a projection of what they've got going on in their life rather than...
not you.
Yeah. Good. What did it teach you about yourself?
What did it teach me about me? That I'm capable of doing more than I think.
Oh, good.
Yeah. Even if that's sort of talking to someone that I'm not as comfortable talking to.
Yeah.
I think it taught me that I'm... Without wanting to seem big-headed, I think it taught me that I'm...
This is your chance to pump
No,
up.
everyone listen to me. I think it taught me that overall I'm quite a likeable person, and I don't say that because I want to pump myself up, but I say that because I definitely didn't think that before then.
Okay.
I had quite low self-esteem before then, I think. I faked it, but before then I think I was quite insecure.
Well, mate, since getting to know you, I can definitely attest to that. Somewhat.
Thank you.
Most of the time.
Yeah. Just sort of it was a confidence boosting experience. It taught me that, it's... I don't know, what did it teach me about me? That I'm not that bad a guy, that I can achieve things that I want to achieve. And just that, like, life's good. I just had a really good time, and it wasn't like I was... I wasn't achieving that much.
Did you put pressure? Did you? I'm interested into kind of like your mindset when you went over and decided to do that. Did you put pressure on yourself to meet people and learn stuff, or did you just kind of let it happen?
No, I wanted to make the most out of it. Like, I needed a bit of time to sort of unwind and just come to grips with the fact that I'd just quit a very stable career and just jump ship. And I had a very supportive girlfriend at the time, so that was good. And
awesome.
She left before I did, and then I was sort of exploring myself, and that's when I was sort of throwing myself in, and there's the gin. And I just sort of thought, well, you might not be here again, and you certainly won't be here on these terms where nothing's an issue. Like, you've got time, you've got some money in the bank, and you don't need to work. Just go out and explore and have
That's
fun.
cool.
Yeah.
What was one of the 2 best things you did while you were over there?
Ooh.
While you're living in New York? Because I haven't been, and it's on the list.
It's my favourite city in the world.
Yeah.
I'd highly recommend it.
Every time I talk to Tommy T about New York, it's like, we gotta go.
Yeah.
Like, mate, I'll come.
My favourite cafe is in New York. It's called Sweatshop. It's in Brooklyn.
I'll write that down.
Tiny. It's by a guy from Melbourne, I think.
Yep.
I think... Actually, I won't tell you how he got around the migration laws, because
it really depends who listens to the podcast. At least he might know a good lawyer, I assume. What were the 2 things?
I don't know. I had a party with my ex's best friend.
Yeah.
And we were just sitting there, and it was just like the ultimate American party with just like all of these really cool people, and it was just fun, and like it was literally just her and I sitting there just watching it happen.
Yeah.
And that was cool. And then we went upstairs, and we were on the roof of this building, and we could look at Manhattan.
That's cool.
And it was just the whole of New York in front of us with a beer in hand.
Yeah.
And that was really cool.
Life's good.
Yeah. And probably the other one, I don't know, driving through Manhattan with a van and almost crashing was actually pretty fun.
It'd be a pretty good experience, like looking back on that now and going, yeah, I did that.
Yeah. I don't know that many people have actually driven. It was literally from the east, basically on the water, to the west, basically on the water.
So straight through all the chaos.
That's
awesome.
Yeah.
How long did you stay there for?
Just under 3 months.
Just under 3 months.
Yeah.
Awesome. Then what?
Came home. And that's when I started. So I came home and I started a business.
Yeah.
And it's still going. It's Flinders Lane Coffee, and it was through. So I was working in hospitality through this time because while I was studying and while I was at high school, I had a lot of experience in hospitality, and I did quite enjoy that.
Yeah.
And I came back and caught up with Sam Keck, who we both know, and I think he's been on this podcast.
Shout out. He did actually yell at you 20 minutes or half an hour ago to shout out about me. We just keep it rolling.
So yeah, I had a chat with Sam, and I'd been working at Common Folk and their other cafe, Merchant and Maker, for a while.
Yeah.
And I'd just sort of been thinking I really wanted to do something, like I had a bit of money left, and I thought I just want to do something to see what I can do. And it was business, like I wanted to do a business. I wanted to start a business and see what I can do. And I was thinking about what's important to me, and at the time I was working as a barista, and good coffee was important to me. And I was thinking, right, well, what's a problem that I've had that hasn't been solved yet? And I was sort of in the supermarket, and I had a look at some coffee pods, and I went, oh, coffee pods, yuck. And I was like, well, I love coffee, but coffee pods suck. And sort of thought, well, why don't we try and get good coffee into coffee pods? And that's where that one started.
Yeah.
So started it with a mate of mine from high school.
Awesome.
Took it to some good places. And yeah, in between that, just did a bit more travelling. And then eventually found myself back in law.
Awesome. Talk to me about the kind of entrepreneurship side. Is that something you've always had?
Yeah. Never, I think it's always been in the back of my mind. Like I've never really explored it until I think I needed that tipping point of essentially hating life as a lawyer and giving everything up. And then I just thought, you know what, I think I needed to work out that from a position where I felt like my life wasn't very enjoyable. That really taught me that life is far too short not to enjoy it. And then I started exploring what inspires me and going back to sort of where I started, you know, taking things and making them better, and that sort of thing. That's what I wanted to do. So I think, underneath it all, I've had an entrepreneurial spark, but I've never really started or lit it
until that
flamed it.
What are the kind of the failures that come to mind that helped you grow it and build it and keep creating it to be what you want to be?
I think if my business partner's listening to this, with all due respect, I don't think it ever did become what I wanted it to be. And I think when we go back to our values at the start of this podcast, the environmental value is just something that's always been in the back of my mind. And it was always, for me, kind of like a good idea and sensible money-wise. But it didn't actually fit with my values, and I think that really stifled my sort of drive to make it big. And, you know, I wanted to make it maybe compostable, and then it was too expensive. And by that time, when the compostable technology was around, we were already in some supermarkets and we were getting squeezed for margins already. I think probably one of the biggest failures is just, I don't think any of it was a failure. I think of Flinders Lane as like my own MBA. Like I don't think I could have ever, and I don't think I could have learnt it if I had done a uni degree. Like I learnt the most basic things from like marketing to supply chain and distribution networks to working out a margin. Like I didn't even know what a margin was. I understood the concept, but I didn't even know how to calculate it. Well, it comes back
to what you were talking about before, right? Like uni should be more practical.
All
right, here's year 2, you're going to start a business, we're going to have a crack and see what happens. Like, that's probably not the worst way to do it.
I think it'd be great.
I find myself some days, and I always start with the premise that I don't know what the fuck I'm talking about, but I find myself some days giving people business advice and things like that because I asked for it. Because all we did was I had a crack and tried things and like I've been asked to like guest lecture and teach business courses at Chisholm and stuff, like little things like that, and I'm just like, what has happened? How is this a thing? And I think this is all I teach. Well, you try things, and if they work, you keep doing them. If they don't work, you try something else. Like there's business. Right, and then you learn all, like the ins and outs and how to do it all. Along the way, and that's a cool way to put it. Your own personal MBA by just having a crack.
And like it's we're trying to sell it at the moment, and it's at this point where my business partner and I don't have the time or really the drive to pursue it. And I think the time one's a bit of a cop out. It's more the drive. Because
it's a time thing. As soon as you go time, it's like, well, if it's not a priority.
No, exactly. It's if you
which is okay.
Yeah. And as we were mentioning Mr. Ferris, Tim Ferris. But, I think one of his guests. Shout out Timmy F.
If you're listening.
I'll be happily on one of your shows if you want.
Good.
No, I don't know if it was him or a guest of his, but it was like, if you're never too busy, it's just a case of your priorities.
Yeah.
And, it's just gotten to a point where
Can you repeat that just for everyone listening that says they're too busy sometimes?
Yeah, you're never too busy. It's just that it's not a priority.
Good.
And it is. Life's all about priorities. But I think the coffee business at this stage is probably not a priority, and it's because neither of us, I can't talk for my business partner, but certainly I'm not passionate about it anymore. And I think it's at this kind of position in its life. I wish podcasts were visual so I could draw it, but if you imagine a dot in the middle of your vision, it can go in a fork, so it could go down or up. And I think if we sell it now, it could go up if someone has the passion for it, but we just don't.
Yeah. So what is the, I guess, the plan or the idea behind where Flinders Lane Coffee goes in the next 12 months or 18 months?
Yeah, so I think my business partner's potentially going overseas, so I think he wants it gone pretty quickly.
Yeah.
And I would probably rather focus my efforts on something else as well.
Cool.
So probably flog it off.
Cool.
Yeah.
There you go.
Business number one, done and dusted.
Yeah.
But at the same time, I sort of think of it as it didn't go where I wanted it to go, but I learnt so much that I don't care. Like I could, if I close it down today and I didn't get a cent from it, I wouldn't really mind because it's a lot cheaper than an MBA. And
fair.
I learnt a lot from it, and it hasn't killed my spark. Like there's so many more ideas that I've got, and I think it's helped me work out how to pursue them and also how to choose them more wisely, because I think one of the key concerns I had with Flinders Lane was that coffee pods are so bad for the environment, and it was always in the back of my mind. So now I know if I come up with an idea,
it's got to
explore it a bit.
Those boxes.
See if it fits with my values.
It's really important because a lot of people would miss the need to have it match up to the values for the sake of profit and success and things like that. And I think if you've already been there and realised what it's like if it doesn't match up, then that passion probably would never come back. Yeah. Unless you had it ticking your values. I'm deciding whether to go back to you being back to a lawyer and what it's like, or whether we talk about some of these ideas and where you want to go in the business world.
We can do both.
Mate, we're going to do both. But which one do you want to do next? Let's go with law because I think I can cover that off quickly. Yeah.
I think I went back into law. So I started back at a firm in Melbourne. So actually I worked at the council for a little while. It was a 6-month contract. I worked as a planning compliance officer.
Oh, fun.
And that means you go around, so people call up the council, they complain about someone breaching their planning permit, you go around to that place and you tell them off for doing the wrong thing. Yeah. And that really showed me what I was talking about earlier about some of the things I've inherited from my mum is that I'm really empathetic. And it always was from a place of negativity, that job. And I really, I'm sure it's for a lot of people, and I respect all of the people I work with. They were great people, and they were able to cope with it, but I think I'm just a little bit too much of an empathetic person for that job. Yeah. It was complaints, so people weren't happy, and we would investigate those complaints and tell off the people that they were complaining about, so they weren't happy, and then the person that complained was really happy with the outcome anyway. So
that's it. So no one really wins, right?
No,
it's just a lose-lose because everyone gets shitty at each other. Yeah. It's like, I don't know, it's a hard one. It's like being a parking inspector.
Yeah, it is a lot like being,
what was it like being in that position? So I think it's an interesting one. Everyone kind of goes, I could never be a parking inspector. Yeah. What was it like being that guy?
I think it taught me. So my mum always said, and this is the second time I'm bringing up something my mum said.
Mate, keep going.
Mum always said that, actually she didn't always say, she only said it recently, but when her mum was really sick, it's that not everyone's going to like you and you can't take it personally. And I think that job really taught me that because I went in at the start and I was like, I'm going to try and please everyone, take the complaint, try and please them, and try and solve it, try and please them, and it just didn't work. And sometimes you've just got to take it take it.
Did your mindset go from trying to please everyone to I'm just going to do the right thing?
Yeah. And it wasn't always I'm just going to do my job, because there were often situations where there were 2 or 3 or multiple options. But yeah, you're right. It came down to sort of what's the right thing to do here.
Even if you make someone unhappy.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's good. That's important. So you left that job.
So I left that job. So that was a 6-month contract.
Yeah.
I got offered to stay on, but at the same time, my girlfriend of 7-ish years and I broke up. And I was a little bit rattled by all of that. So
understandably so.
Yeah. So also found a job in planning and environmental law, and environment is kind of a passion of mine.
Yeah.
I was up in town, so I applied for that, got that, and then didn't renew my contract at the council. And then was moved up to Richmond, packed up everything. So I went from a job in Mornington, a girlfriend in Mornington, I met Martha, and a fairly steady life, to a completely different life that's in a lot more fast-paced environment, working in Melbourne, living in Richmond.
Yeah.
And did that and really enjoyed the legal side, but found myself in the exact same situation from when I was crying over some dishes and was just working pretty bad hours. It wasn't as bad as it used to be, but it was still long hours, and felt like I didn't have time to have a life. And because I'd discovered that entrepreneurial spark, and because I'd realised that there were things outside of work, I just couldn't sustain that. So
you kind of went full circle.
But then stayed in law and found a job in Mornington, which I'm really enjoying in law.
Awesome.
And I think it should be able to work in that I can pursue some entrepreneurial pursuits as well.
That's cool.
Yeah.
So what are you doing now?
So I'm working as a commercial lawyer in a firm in Mornington.
Yeah.
And I've taken over from a guy who was there for 14 years, so just sort of working on a lot of his old files and trying to bring in my own.
Yeah.
It kind of feels like it's kind of like a rocket launch. You got first and second stage. First stage is getting on top of everything that I've inherited.
Yeah.
And then second stage is kind of building my own brand down here and trying to be... my goal is to be the best lawyer on the Mornington Peninsula.
Awesome.
And it's a big goal, but,
I'll back you in.
Yeah, thanks. So, that's sort of where I'm aiming at, and I just need to keep sort of focusing on that goal and working hard at that.
What are the main things a commercial lawyer does?
Oh, so varied.
Yeah.
Yeah, so down here, if you're a commercial lawyer, you also work in wills and estates, because there's a very old population down here.
Yep.
And you've got to keep the books topped up financially.
Fair.
So I do a lot of wills and estates, but the focus on commercial is anything from selling and buying a business to just basic contracts, commercial tenancies, renewals of leases.
Yeah.
I'm trying to explore a little bit more into kind of some entrepreneurial stuff.
Cool.
But yeah, basically, and realistically, commercial law is just contract law.
Yeah.
And it's just because you've got 2 commercial entities. And it might have things to do with shares, which go to a constitution, but ultimately a constitution is just a contract between the shareholders. So it all comes down to just basic contract law. Yeah. And then if you get into a dispute, which I quite like, then you got litigation. And I don't mind sort of trying to find... I like litigation because you have an opportunity before it reaches court to find a solution that isn't just... you can try and find a solution that meets everyone's interests. That's what we were taught in sort of negotiation at law school, and I think a lot of people forget that it doesn't have to be one or the other.
So you try and get the everybody winning result.
Yeah.
Which would be hard.
It's not always...
Everyone wants them to win.
Yeah, and just emotions. Emotions are the worst thing, which is another good lesson I've learnt from being a lawyer is, if you keep your emotions in check, you don't have to not show emotion.
Yeah.
But you've got to always sort of question where it's coming from and
well, that'd help with personal awareness, right?
Definitely.
Yeah, because you'd be able to deal with other stuff happening in your life a little bit more, if you're a little bit more aware of why you feel a certain way and why certain things happen, because you go, well, at work I have to take emotion out of it, and that's an interesting one. Yeah,
and also it means before you make a decision you stop and you think why, and I guess from a kind of nerdy lawyer position it's like, if I was advising myself on this, would I want me to do that, or is that not the right sort of...
That's a pretty good skill to have.
Yeah, I think the law degree's really helped me in a life perspective. Yeah.
Awesome. Talk to me about your ideas. What's next for the entrepreneurial spark?
So I come up with so many ideas, and I've got a girlfriend now, and she's amazing, and she's very supportive, and she mentioned to me, she said it would really shit me if you just kept on saying this would be a good idea, this would be a good idea, this would be a good idea, because it would just be your dreamer, but you always come up with how it would work as well. So it's like a saving grace. That's very nice. But I also sort of am conscious of, from what I've learned in the past in terms of keeping things in line with what I want to do, it can't just be a good idea, but it's got to be something that I feel really passionate about.
Definitely.
And one of those things is actually very, very early stages, but it's a concept whereby we'll hopefully, in the CBD at least, start tackling the disposable coffee cups.
Awesome.
Issue. We're in discussions, I'm in discussions with a sustainability manager of a large property management team.
Yeah.
Oh, I don't know if he's a manager. He's on the sustainability board of a large company that owns and manages a lot of CBD high-rises, and they all have cafes in the bottom.
Yeah.
So anyone out there listening, please don't copy, but I don't think there's no point hiding your ideas when they're eventually going to come out, and I'm excited by it. So the idea is that we will source reusable coffee cups.
Talk to me about, because it's something that, like, I guess it's an issue at the moment, right?
Yeah.
Because we understand how much coffee people drink, how much coffee I drink, how much, like, and what impact that has in terms of disposable coffee cups.
Yeah.
Keep cups obviously become a fairly big thing, a fairly strong thing.
Huge. I've got one.
Awesome. But we, like, and then you hear, like, this eco cup, this is disposable, but is it? Like,
yeah.
Like, I don't know if it is or not, because you hear things from both sides.
Yeah. Well, even, Sam's done a really good job of getting compostable cups in there, but in reality, sorry, Sam, they need to be sent through a commercial composting facility that hits certain temperatures, which aren't, you couldn't throw them into your composting bin.
Yeah. So that's what we need to get to.
Yeah, I think so, and I hope we get there.
Yeah.
But I think in the meantime, we've got to find another solution, because we can't just sort of hope.
Yeah,
I think
100%. But, like, you're taking action, trying to find a...
Yeah, so the idea is essentially that we just replace disposable cups with reusable ones. I've got a Keep cup, and I had one in the city when I was working in a law firm, and it would sit on my desk and it would get a bit mouldy.
That's genuinely... like, most of my coffees are sitting in at Common Folk, but... a lot of my coffees aren't. Yeah. Like, they're ones that I bring to the office and bring to work and things like that. And I am aware of it, but to be honest, like, convenience-wise, it's so hard for me to get a Keep cup, because I know I'm not going to clean it enough. I know I'm going to lose it. I'm not going to have it with me all the time. Like, I struggle to keep my keys on me at all times. Yeah. So I am not going to be able to add a cup to the equation. So we need a solution.
Yeah. So even I was walking from the law firm up to a barrister, and I was meeting with the barrister, and I went to grab my Keep cup, and I thought, well, I don't want a dirty cup on the table while I'm talking to a barrister, like a very respected person, and I don't want a dirty cup in the way of us. So I got a takeaway, and I thought there's just something wrong with, like, what? Yeah. But how do we do it? So ultimately the goal is, and I've got some contacts that can put me onto some other contacts, but the goal is to just have enough reusable cups in the cafes in Melbourne, and then just bins scattered around for the disposable cups. We use recycling bins all the time,
so adding another bin,
just another bin, and then the service. So the company that I'm setting up at the moment will actually offer the service of cleaning the cups. Cafes will order them as if they're disposable cups, and they'll be delivered on a daily or weekly basis.
Yeah. What are the main challenges you're going to face?
Getting the bins. So I'll need Melbourne City Council on board, but I think it's, from a PR perspective, I think it's a pretty strong case. Yeah. And meeting the right people, and I've got some friends who know.
Most livable city in the world just became a little bit more livable.
Coffee capital of the world. Yeah. So it's a good example to set. Darebin City Council just banned single-use plastic at their council-sponsored events. So
that's cool.
It's one more step.
But that's the thing. Like, everyone looks at this, go, "Oh no, it won't change." Yeah. But it's one thing at a time.
Yeah. Well, that's the other thing. I think the biggest challenge is changing people's perceptions. Yeah. But I think the answer is, so the first idea I had was a membership option where people get to choose and be a member. They pay like a nominal fee a week, and they get to use a reusable cup and put it into the bins. Yeah. But now I'm just thinking all or nothing, and it's just completely replacing them.
Yeah.
So it's sort of, I don't know, I think overall people are willing to do it, but they need it to be as easy as possible.
Yeah, well, that's it. I think people want to do it, but people need it to be, it needs to be something that's relatively easy to do. Problem is, if it's something that costs people money or time, then they're going to be less likely to do it, right?
Yeah. So the idea is that the cost of the reusable cups these days, if you get them, bulk wholesaling from China, they're still BPA free and all of that business. They that's actually quite close to the cost of a disposable cup in a cafe.
Cool.
So the idea is, the
cost won't change too much.
Yeah, and even we've done the maths at 30 or 40% loss of cups, and it still makes financial sense if we can get a high enough quantity. And the idea is just you want to incentivise the cafes to stock them instead of disposable cups. They don't have to clean them. We do. And people can walk around and they can throw their reusable cups. It's trying to make them do a positive change without even realising essentially that they're doing one, or by adding a few extra levels of. And it's just
all you need, it's just a change of behaviour. So you've just got to kind of get people to understand the reason behind it, and then that slight little change in behaviour could make a huge difference.
Put it in a different bin.
Sure. I don't know. I'm still having objections in my head to it. Why? Surely it's 2018. How have we not figured out some sort of material that is compostable like everything else? Surely we're there.
I don't know.
Surely.
I think it's the heat. So coffee hits, a lot of places brew coffee at 96 or something degrees.
Yep. So if we hit gotcha.
And if it can compost in a garden mulch.
That makes sense.
Yeah.
I don't know, it's interesting.
I don't know. Anyway, I'm open to, because it's very early stage, as you can probably tell by my inability to explain it succinctly.
I like it. It's a great idea. And you're filling a void or filling a hole, solving a problem.
Yeah. And give it a try.
But what it looks like in 6 months is probably going to be completely different to how you explain it now, which is cool. Right? Yeah. You'll adapt and you'll grow and you'll figure it out. Yeah. It's a good idea. I really like it.
Yeah. It's all seen. And I don't know, it's the biggest thing. The biggest difference between someone who's just a bit, floaty and ideas oriented and they're just in their head and they're just sort of a dreamer. The biggest difference between a dreamer and someone who's successful is just taking that first step.
Yeah. Yeah. Well, the biggest thing is just if you're able to take action, then you figure all that other stuff out as you go.
Just go.
And if it means something to you and it's fulfilling, then you're going to put in the work and put in the time.
Yeah.
So the difference between stuff like that and the times working for the man, so to speak.
Yeah.
How big a change is that to your mindset and how likely you are to actually love your work? What are the changes to your mindset that you see between when you used to work in the big law firms and now following things you're actually passionate about?
Yeah. I think coming from a place of motivation instead of obligation.
Ooh, good.
And I don't know, time flies when you're doing something that you want to do.
Oh, mate.
You just lose track and you're just doing it and you're doing it because you want to do it.
Yeah.
You never feel like you have to.
Yeah.
It's
a good feeling when you're in that position
great
too.
Feeling
I'm lucky enough to be in that position daily. Every minute of every day, even the hard stuff, I love it, and I look forward to I can't wait to work tomorrow.
Yeah.
Same it's gonna be the same on Saturday. It's gonna be the same on Sunday. It's just when you want to do the stuff, you want to do it because you're either helping people or building something bigger than yourself or making a difference you are. It's so easy to come to work.
Yeah.
It's so easy to jump out of bed in the morning. Yeah. That's cool. And I don't know what the numbers are in Australia, but I know the US, it's about 70% of people don't feel fulfilled by their jobs, which is that for me. That's a travesty.
Yeah.
And it's good. I love talking to people like you that actually genuinely like what they're doing.
Yeah.
It's cool.
You too.
Where do you get your driving vision from? Have an idea and execute on it and put in the work.
Yeah, I don't know. I think drive is just that life's too short.
Yeah.
And it's
the longest thing you'll ever do, mate.
Quite true. But as far as I know, I'm not particularly religious. And as far as I know, I'm on this planet once. And
I completely agree with that sentiment.
Yeah. And I just think, if you think about what's the worst thing that can happen if you try something, very rarely is it as bad as what your fear is telling you.
Yeah.
and you'll always have a chance. Unless it's going to cripple you or kill you, then you'll always have a chance at making it right or giving something else a go. So I just think you got to give it a go.
It's really easy for people to get stuck in fears of, this could happen, this could happen, this could happen. But one of my favourite kind of sayings is that the past and future are literally just stories we tell ourselves to make ourselves feel better or worse.
Yeah.
But the only difference between the two is one's fixed and one's fluid. So every decision we make in the present now will affect what happens in the future.
Yeah.
And I think then you kind of go, well, shit, I'm completely in control of where I'm headed.
Yeah.
And everyone is completely in control of where they're headed. It's your choice, what you want to do.
Yeah.
Whatever action you take will get you there.
Yeah.
And you wanting to make the world a better place by decreasing some of the coffee cup pollution, that's fucking awesome. It's happening.
Yeah.
Good from you. I'm excited.
Yeah.
I like it.
I'm pretty, it's kind of two of my, I am obsessed with coffee and I really like the environment. So why not?
Or you're putting the things you love into, and finding things you're passionate about and making things happen.
Yeah.
It's good. How, you've obviously someone that, gone through kind of the chronological story of the last 10, 15 years.
Yeah.
Someone that you've, uprooted yourself and moved places to places and changed a lot of things. How does that relate to, I guess, your pursuit of happiness and your pursuit of being fulfilled and content? And what are the things that it's taught you along the way? Because a lot of people probably listening to this, or a lot of people who are listening to this know people that just aren't happy.
Yeah.
How has that contributed to where you are now?
Yeah. I think, if we think about, chronologically, if we think about today, I think I'm still in a little bit of a state of flux.
Yeah.
In that I've moved 3 months ago, I was in Richmond and working in a big city law firm, and now I'm in Mornington and pursuing another idea and quite excited by it. And I'm actually living with mum and dad and applying for a new place tonight and all of this stuff. So it's all up in the air, but I think overall, life's good and there's nothing not to be happy about. I think when I went through the breakup, I was pretty down. I was probably, if I had gone to a doctor, I might have been prescribed some meds, but I got through it.
It's a whole other scary issue.
We'll talk about that. We don't have to talk about that. But it was obviously a huge change. I had settled in, I'd been living in that house for years with my ex. We'd been, sort of setting up a life together, and then that all stopped, and then I literally packed up everything and moved to what's essentially another city, living in Melbourne, in Richmond and working in Melbourne. So that was all very, a bit dysfunctional, but I think overall, while I might have been depressed in the way that someone might have said you need some medication, I don't think I ever lost sight of the fact that life is good and it might be a speed bump, but no matter where you are, there's always opportunity and you can always choose which way you're going to go. Until you're in the position that you can't, life is good.
Yeah, that eternal optimism is pretty important.
Yeah.
Because then no matter how hard things get and how fucked up things get, you always know that it could get better.
Yeah.
And that's something that people you talk to who are struggling with depression and things like that, they genuinely can't either remember a time that they were happy or look forward to a time where they might be happy in the future. And I've talked about this multiple times on the podcast, but the advice that I've had from people close to me that have been through depression and worked through it has been filling your memory bank with happy memories and finding the things that you like doing and doing them and just adding to that and adding to that and adding to that. And I'm more than happy to be repeating myself for 3 podcasts in a row on this, because it's so important to just find shit that you love doing and do it. And then, you can build that bank of happy memories back up if you are in that space. Yeah. And it's a hard space to live in.
Oh, it is,
this is a question from Jack Jeffrey.
Oh.
How do you deal with being drop dead gorgeous all the time? What's it like? It must be hard.
Coming from Jack Jeffrey, the handsome man himself. Shout out Jack Jeffrey, Jackie boy. First of all, I'll just say Jack actually gave me my favourite quote and I'll quickly give that, and then I'll start being self-serving and start talking about my drop-dead sexiness. Jack gave me he lent me the book from the Thank You founder. I can't remember the name of the book.
Not sure. No.
It's interesting. And he put in the margin of one of the pages, I think it was his favourite page, he put in a quote, and it is, "No doubt the universe is unfolding as it should."
Good.
And I read it and I was like, shit, like that really talks to me. And it's not that it talks to me because I think that the universe is unfolding and I've got no control over it, but it talks to me because I think if you, regardless of where you're at, the universe, like it's like, universe conspiring kind of quote. It's regardless of where you're at, if you set your mind to something, the universe will unfold as it should. And
I like that a lot.
If you're on the wrong path, I believe that barriers will be presenting themselves, and if it's too hard, then you'll go
be mindful enough to...
Yeah.
That's the deepest answer that's ever come from why are you so good looking.
And then back to Jack's question. I actually think I probably have, if he thinks that, I don't. And
mate, you're 12.
Thank you, Jack.
You're 12.
I appreciate it.
Pump your tires up.
No, I think it's interesting because I used to be a bit overweight and not very popular, and I think people, if people think I'm attractive, then I'm very flattered. But I think, overall, my own self-image, I don't think I don't think either way. I don't think I'm unattractive, but I don't think I'm attractive. I just think I'm me.
Play on.
And yeah, I'm not overly fussed with that. It's nice to hear that he thinks I'm a sexy man, but...
Good. All right, I've got a bunch of short, sharp questions for you to answer to finish up. Go nuts with as long or as short as you want to answer them.
Okay.
Have you had a defining moment?
Yeah, I reckon I was crying.
Yeah.
Crying, washing the dishes at home. Yeah.
It's cool that you remember it and sense your thoughts on it.
I could put myself back there right now if I close my eyes.
Snarly.
Yeah.
I have to ask you, talk to me about impaling yourself.
Yeah, I thought I got away with that.
Nope.
I was playing footy at school, and there just happened to be a star picket behind the goalposts. I was protecting the cricket pitches, the turf cricket pitches, and I was running with the flight of the ball. Probably the only time.
Courageous.
Only time I've been courageous playing footy happened to be a lunch break. It was lunchtime in high school, wearing the shirt and the shorts with the shirt tucked in and the socks pulled up, and just sort of put my head over my shoulder and ran and jumped up, and as soon as I was sort of on the way down, there was a star picket in my chest, and gravity pulled me down, so I got a 9-inch scar up my chest.
Jeez.
Got a full nipple reconstruction.
Hey, treat yourself.
One of the very few males who have had a full nipple reconstruction. Not very useful for us because it doesn't really do anything, but...
Put that on your resume.
Yeah.
That should be on your LinkedIn profile.
Nipple reconstruction.
Yeah. What was that like? That's pretty heavy.
Yeah.
What was that like for you and your family? And
I really remember Mum when she walked in. So interestingly, and no criticism, no judgment, but for some reason the school nurse decided it was a good idea to put me in her car and drive me to the local doctor. And it actually worked out really fortuitously because the local doctor knew a plastic surgeon who was able to stitch me up really well, so worked out well. Wasn't the best decision, but she was in a very high stress situation.
Probably not something the school nurse would have to deal with too.
No, exactly. And people deal with stress. It would have been a very, very uncomfortable and hard position for her to be in, so no hard feelings there, but ideally an ambulance might be a better call next time if that ever comes up again. School nurses out there. But I remember I was sitting on this cold, I think possibly stainless steel operating table in the local doctor, and this old guy walks up and he's got his shaking hands. He's like, "I think I can do it." I was like, "No, I don't think you can."
Wow. How old were you?
16,
Far out.
15. And Mum walked in, and I remember her looking at me, and I've never seen her look so sad. And I was just like, I need to say something. And I just said to her, "It's all good. It's fine. Don't worry about it." And I just I just wanted her to go out. I wanted it to be okay. Like, I was more worried about her than I was about me.
Yeah.
It was shit. People who tell you shock sets in, they might be telling the truth for them, but it didn't happen with me. I was in a lot of pain. It felt like I'd had my chest sort of dragged. If I was being dragged behind a truck on a gravel road, that's what it felt like.
Doesn't sound pleasant.
Yeah, it really hurt.
One little bit.
Yeah.
Far out.
But it was interesting. I hated it for a couple of years. I had a scar, and I thought it was the most obscene, ugly. just made my body look awful, and
Yeah.
then I just thought, well, it's interesting.
Is what it is,
different,
mate.
and I've got it. And
It's a fucking awesome story. It's an elite story. It's what was there like a chunk of rehab and stuff you had to do, or was it just literally letting those
not really,
skin out?
so it was stitched up. I can't remember how many stitches, but it was like a lot.
Yeah.
Like, I thought it was 50 and Mum was like, it was a lot more than 50. I was like, wow.
Well, you just got to pick a number and just stick with it.
Yeah.
Because it's a great... To be honest, I had 376 stitches.
Well, I remember the doctor saying something about, well, I thought it was 50 stitches in 4 layers. So I used to say 200 stitches.
Yeah.
And then Mum was like, I don't think it was 200, but it was definitely layers.
Mate, I think you've earned the right to kind of just pick a number and go with it.
Whatever it is. A lot of stitches.
Yeah.
But yeah, the rehab, it was just literally, I had a big bandage on my chest, like a straight bandage over the stitches, and they were all dissolvable except for the ones on my nipple.
Yeah.
So I got them cut out, and like overall, my range of movement was a little bit tight for a while, but the scar tissue
It's all good
stretched,
now?
and yeah, it's all fine.
Mate, life's good. Play on. Good. Let's lighten it up a little bit. What's your favourite fun fact?
Favourite fun fact? I really like... I guess it's a fun fact. I like the guy... What's his name? Neil deGrasse Tyson.
What a man.
And he says everything, like every single cell in your body is like originated from the Big Bang. So it's like
Stardust.
we're all
just stardust.
Yeah. And
Have you read his new book?
No.
It's amazing. It's what is it? Astrophysics for people in a hurry. It's elite.
Yeah.
It's super cool. It's very deep and very things along those lines, but it's good.
Yeah.
I like that.
Yeah, I really
It's a
like
great
that.
fun fact.
Yeah.
What advice would you give a 15-year-old self?
Ooh. 15-year-old Dan. You're almost there with the weight loss. Good job. Keep it up. There's some advice. No, I think, probably stop trying to impress everyone. Stop trying to please everyone.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Good.
Because I think that helped me back a bit early on, and I've given that up, and I think I've seen a lot more development since
I
then.
like that. If money was an issue and you knew you couldn't fail, what would you do with your life?
This should be what I'm doing. Really. What would I do? I think I would open my own law practice.
Yeah.
And I would probably do it 3 days a week.
Nice.
And I'd do it sort of from a community or social justice perspective.
Cool.
And on the other 4 days a week, I'd pursue my own kind of endeavours. I think I'll never scratch that entrepreneurial itch, and like some people have the share market. I think I just have like throw money at a business and see
what happens. Yeah.
and hopefully develop it to a point where like I'm passionate enough about it that it takes off.
I can't help but feel that law practice is going to be a thing soon-ish.
Maybe. Yeah.
Good. If you could be remembered in one sentence, what would it be?
Like Dan was something.
Mate, it's all yours.
I don't know. I think I want to. I think it can go back to where we started, and I want to
Make things better.
make things better. But I want, if people know me, then I want their life to be better
Good.
for it, and not
Make things and people better.
Yeah.
Yeah, good.
Yeah.
What is success to you?
Being happy with what you do. I think 5 days a week for most people as work. If you're not happy in that, then I don't think you can call yourself successful.
Yeah.
I think family, having a strong family is something that you should strive for. Like I'm
Definitely.
amazingly proud of my dad to be able to keep the family that we've got together despite how hard he worked. But I think ultimately success is just being happy with what you're doing every day.
Good. I like that a lot. What are you most proud of?
Most proud of.
This is always a hard one to answer. Everyone struggles with this one.
Yeah. I think I'm proud of I get really proud when good wins. Like I'm proud of the world overall because things
It's a
like
good answer. It's a really good answer.
When gay marriage passed, I was proud and I was really excited for that, and just things like I think I'm proud of humanity in its general.
It's a very altruistic answer. I like that a lot. That's good. It's good because it's really easy to focus on all the negative shit that happens with humanity. But
Yeah.
I think accumulatively we're doing a pretty good job.
Yeah, I think overall we're good. There's just some very...
So this is a shout out to the 7 billion humans on Earth.
Yep.
Great work. Keep it up.
Listen to this podcast.
Keep ticking boxes. Shit. On the flip side of that, what are you most ashamed of?
That's a good question.
Appreciate that.
Yeah.
I'm most proud of my good questions.
All right. What's yours?
For most ashamed of?
Yeah. You can't ask that sort of hard question without answering it yourself.
See, the funny thing is most of these questions I've properly thought about and answered at some point because I get these thrown back at me every now and again. That's one I haven't had thrown back at me. What am I most ashamed of?
It's too curly not to be able to answer yourself. I'm
most ashamed of times where I didn't treat someone with the respect they deserved. So when I didn't listen to someone when I should have, when I wasn't present with someone when I should have, when I didn't live true to my values, which is, I won't bug you with all my values now, but one of them is connection, and it's the ability to stop and listen and things like that. And I think I'm most proud of some of the times where I've actually sat down or actually spent the time listening to someone when I could have just blown it off and kept talking and found... and being that person where someone can talk to when they haven't necessarily had someone. So on the flip side of that, if I'm ashamed of the times where I wasn't that person or I wasn't able to do it because I was entrenched in something that I was thinking about that was maybe serving me but wasn't serving other people. Yeah. So what's yours?
I think that's a brilliant answer. How do I follow up from that? Look, I think the reason that answer is so good is because people are ashamed of things that don't match up with their values and that don't match up with who they want to be as a person, but they've done it. Yeah. So I think, situations where I've done something where it doesn't match up with who I want to be. One actually sticks in my mind. It was when I was with another ex-girlfriend, and sorry to my current one for bringing up all the exes. But it brings up, Mum went to my grandma's funeral in Tasmania, and when she came home I just hadn't even thought of the fact that she would be really down, and I was sitting there with the current girlfriend at the time and we were sort of laughing and joking, and I hadn't even offered to sort of go to Tasmania or be at the funeral because at the time, the day didn't line up, but it still would have hurt Mum that I couldn't go to that. And then I was sort of there and just sort of joking around. It really hurt me to think that I'd hurt Mum, and I was really ashamed of that.
When you've just, because you just forget, right?
Yeah.
But you realise how much impact that has on someone.
Yeah. And I think I was too caught up in my own world to not appreciate that there was something really important for someone else. And I think being quite an empathetic person, Mum's hurt or someone else's hurt really hurt me. In the same way, my most recent ex-girlfriend, I think her and I, that was the first proper relationship I'd been in. Yeah. And I think there were a lot of times when I let her down, and I think it probably hurt me as much as it hurt her. But yeah, ultimately all it is just, and even, if I wake up and go to work and don't put in all the effort, I'm a bit ashamed of that. It's just...
Yeah, it accumulates.
Yeah, but it's always something that, and I don't want to sound like I'm ashamed of a lot of things I do. I think overall I'm an alright guy and I'm pretty happy with where my life's going, but it's just when your values don't, your actions don't line up with your values. Yeah. And so I think you can try and combat that by focusing on, what's important to you and trying to live that.
It's awareness and knowing what your values are so that you can keep working towards it.
Yeah.
For those of you guys that are listening that haven't actually written down your values, sit there for half an hour and think about, what do I value? Why do I value it? Put it down on paper. And it's really easy because then when you're not sure about where you're going or what you're doing, come back to those. Yeah. Next one. Who's someone you know who you look up to who's doing great things?
Probably quite a few.
Just pick one.
Well, if I'm completely honest, you, Lockie.
Stop it.
No, honestly, I think, I've sort of haven't really got to know you that well, but I think we know each other well enough.
Yet.
And I'm inspired by how you actually live what, you read all of these books. For everyone listening, there are dozens of books on Lockie's wall, and you don't just read them, you put them into practice. So that's really, it impresses me.
Appreciate that.
And what you're doing with Virtus is really, it's inspiring.
First session on Monday.
I know, it's
Mate,
great.
That was a leap.
I felt like I was going to vomit in a good way.
For those listening, vomiting after a session is not good. That's not what we want.
No, feeling like it.
You got the job done, though.
Yeah, I got it. Who else?
Give me someone else.
I've got a mate, James, who has just done all of this stuff, and I don't know financially how he's doing. Like, I don't know if he's actually made it. I think he might have, he's doing well, but he's just got this dogged determination to just do something and try it, and if it doesn't work, he moves on to the next one and do it.
That's cool.
And he's worked in a startup that seemed like it was heading along the Snapchat route, and then it just completely blew up, and he was like, all right, cool, I'm moving to Sweden with my girlfriend. And then he's got this advertising agency, and now he's working for the Formula One, and he's doing all of it. It's just, and all it is just this overwhelming positivity that I can do this.
Things will work it out.
Yeah, and it's sometimes it's almost perceived as arrogance, but if you look underneath it, it's just he's just trusts in it, he's doing
that.
it.
That's good.
So yeah, I think him.
Good. If you could invite 3 people to dinner, dead or alive, who would they be and why? This could be anyone.
All right. I think I'll just try and think of them quickly, because I think the more you think,
the first people that come in your head.
Yeah. All right. I think I want to say Elon Musk, but I feel like that's a cop-out because he's obviously someone that...
Mate, he comes up a bit, and I would love to have him at dinner.
Yeah.
Mate, nothing wrong with that answer. Why?
I just think the way that he thinks must be different, and I want to know how he thinks.
Yeah.
I'd love to have just a proper sit-down conversation with him, because I think for him to have achieved what he's achieved, and he takes things that everyone else has dismissed.
Yeah.
His mission for SpaceX is to go to Mars.
Yeah. It's crazy.
No private company has come up with that before, as far as I know, and he's doing it. He's just totally living it out.
In his last round of interviews, he I was watching a bunch of them, because obviously he just kind of comes up for air and does 5 interviews and then see you in 6 months. One of the reporter asked him, "Why do you do this? Why are you doing these things?" And his answer, and it's the most Elon Musk answer ever, was to be useful. How fucked up is that? He's literally changing the way we look at 3 industries.
Yeah.
4 industries. 4 industries if you count the boring company.
Yeah.
And he's changing the whole way 4 industries work and are looked at, and the way people will be able to consume these things and experience these things. And his answer was to be useful. It's fucked up.
Yeah, it is.
It messes with my brain.
Yeah. He's and that's why I'd love to just chat with him, because I think his mind doesn't work the way.
What question would you ask him? What's your first question? Would you ask him?
I don't think I'd start with I think I'd start with something simple to try and build up the rapport. To be honest, I think I'd just be what's going on? Have a chat, try and break down his back, because I'm sure he would get it so much. But I just want to I think I just want to have a conversation with him. I don't think I'd want to know anything from him, but I'd want to know about him.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Just let him talk and see what happens.
Yeah.
That'd be the big thing, just letting him talk.
Yeah.
Other 2.
2 and 3. I think my Dutch grandpa, just because there's a lot of unanswered questions. I've never really got a chance to get to know him.
Yeah.
And I just feel like he had more to his life than he ever let on. I reckon he had a few interesting stories, and he was just an interesting man.
Yeah.
And I think it's more also to do with the fact I just didn't have that opportunity to really get to know him the way that I did probably with every other grandparent. So I think that'd be good.
Good.
Number 3. God. I reckon Henry Ford.
Good.
Hmm.
Yeah, nice.
Yeah, because I think he obviously had a huge influence on the world.
It's crazy.
But also, I just love that, he did what he did, and he is attributed the quote, whatever the mind can... What is it? Whatever the mind can conceive, you can achieve, or something
something like that. My favourite quote from Henry Ford, and have you read Think and Grow Rich, Napoleon Hill?
Mm-hmm.
That's one where he just like pumps up Henry Ford for the whole book.
Yeah.
But my favourite quote is, if I asked people what they want, they would have asked for faster horses.
Yeah.
Like that epitomises him, and I think he's probably I know it was a while ago now, but he's probably underrated in terms of the general population as to how big of an impact he actually made.
Yeah. But also just, I don't know, I really believe that if you want something, you won't necessarily get it, but if you want it and you believe that you can get it, I think you can make a way to make it happen.
Definitely.
Yeah.
No doubt the universe is unfolding as it should.
Exactly.
Mate, thank you very much for coming on.
Thanks, Lockie.
You got anything more to add?
No, I'm a little bit concerned. I brought up several ex-girlfriends, so I hope people don't think I'm a slut. Other than that, I'm good.
Hey, you do you, right? Love your work. Thanks for coming.
Thanks, Lockie.